Well, hello everybody, and welcome to this week's Metaworld News. These are your headlines for the week ending 18th of November 2018. Oh, dear oh me, the year
Mm.
is disappearing. We'll be in the end of year holiday before we know it. And in some respects, this is one of those weeks when you almost just might think it started. Anyway, let's get down to the news. You can follow me on Twitter at twitter.com/malburns. That's MALBURNS. Two words in real life, but just one word on Twitter. We also have an additional Twitter feed, which is twitter.com/metaworldnews, which, not surprisingly, shares its name with this show. Once again, or one word. Right, and there are a couple of other sources, but I'm not going to mention them because you can't remember everything. Just remember the Twitter feeds. That's all you need. Right, and I'm starting off from the Malburn's feed with headlines for this week. I've got one here actually from uploadvr.com, which I quite literally caught. It can't have been one about half an hour ago. The publisher. The news I got the other day about this review I've only just got. The publisher of Mist and Riven,
Mm.
Cyan Interactive, have released what is sort of their first virtual reality game, although they're actually acting as publisher for the studio that actually produced this, and it's called Zed. Now, uh, you can read all about it here at uploadvr.com and other places, but if you're going to imagine something that looks like a sort of misty type thing, but is actually in total 3D, then this sort of seems to be it. And if you're into, I mean, I have to say that honestly, I've never been traditionally a game player, and it wasn't actually until Myst came along that there was something I could actually attempt to engage with that didn't get me shot down in the first frame. And that kind of appealed to me, and this very much seems to be in that ilk. I'm going to mention something else that's in that ilk later on, near the end of the show. It doesn't really fit in here. I haven't got a link for you. Um, so it's nice to think that Cyan is still around, and also that other people are maybe popping up who show their influence, as it were, the influence of Cyan.
Hmm.
Right, okay, moving on. This will be yesterday, if not the day before. Virtuality Diversity Initiative uses VR to create accessible backpacks for people with scoliosis. Now, I've probably got every medical condition under the sun, but I never know what they are, and I don't know what scoliosis is. Have you any idea, James?
It's a spinal affliction, and so it's the curvature of the spine. If it doesn't
Right.
curve in a vertically aligned way, it can go to the
Oh,
sides and
okay.
things like that.
Okay, I'm looking at the photograph that goes with that, and although she's very darkly clothed, I think I can sort of see that the woman looks quite short and
Yeah, yeah.
bent, shall we say? Okay, well, apparently, you can check this out at VRScout or one word.com, and I am not quite sure how the backpack comes into it and how this connects with VR. I'm going to actually open this for you folks, on the assumption that Microsoft are willing to open it in less than the speed of
Mm.
tortoise.
Mm.
No, speed of tortoise, for the look of it. Um, what can I? There we are. Oh, okay. Well, if James switches back to our screen, you'll see that that's the headline. There are some photoshots there of the device um, itself, and presumably the idea is that you can interact in VR with the spots on that device. Um, okay, this is a workshop at VR Diversity Initiative. Um, VR is the closest you're going to be able to get out of your own body, and then the real world backpacks. Okay, well that is altogether fascinating, but um, not easy to summarize. I'm sure if you're interested, you better file down link to vrscout.com. Right, so digitaltrends.com, a little word over the side there. Google Patent shows ways to make VR even more immersive. And I think this is the one to do with your feet. We'll just check that for you. And yes, sometimes has limits. Google has patented shoes that can break through virtual reality by making it more enveloping for consumers.
Hmm.
This doesn't sound like either. Google must. This doesn't sound like the language Google would use for a press release. Enveloping. I suppose they're searching for new words. Okay, they filed the patent in May, and apparently they've now got it, and it's basically a shoe-wear patent. Who knows? Who knows? Google got plenty of money to patent anything they feel like, really. Even if historically, like Apple, they patent things that they never get around to using. Right, the amazing Spheres VR experience is now on Oculus Rift. Well, Oculus Rift, sorry, is one of those high-end things that cost a bit. Spheres VR cost you $10 more or less to get it, and this looks like one of those things that is a genuine sort of VR experience rather than a game or anything like that. So, storytelling, music, atmosphere, and stuff like that. So, if you want more about that, you want to go to digitalbodies or one word.net. Right, YouTube VR is now available on Oculus Go. Now, Oculus Go is the standalone headset from the Oculus people. It doesn't require a cable or anything. On the other hand, it doesn't. It's not of the same quality as the Rift or some of that stuff. There will be the new Oculus thing next year, which is sort of Go the executive version of a Go. Anyway, oh, just on a sideline, I have discovered that ever since I actually bought the Oculus Go, which was I think on the first day it was available in the UK, I hadn't really taken much notice of this, but there's like a blemish on what looks like a left-hand lens. But it's not there because when I take it off and I really begin to get annoyed with it, I try to, polish the lens and just get rid of what was on it. And then it turns out there's nothing there. So whatever this blemish is on the other side of the lens inside the box that you can't get into. So
Oh no.
I, yes, I've decided that this blob on my left eye is an anomaly that's been there since I bought it. So anyway, go figure.
Hmm.
Like all these things, mass produced, cost a lot of money, but not much take care over quality control. Anyway, YouTube VR. Which is a service from YouTube, is now available on Oculus Go. So YouTube, Google, and Oculus have sort of sorted themselves out, and you now can watch YouTube to your heart's content in the Oculus Go. So it's really close up, like your television screens in your face. But more importantly, there are whole parts of YouTube called YouTube VR, which contain not only 360 videos that are designed for VR mimicry, 360 vision, I used to call it. But there are actually some things hosted by YouTube that are actually proper VR experiences
Hmm.
that will now work on your Oculus Go because they're at YouTube. So um, quite good there. Um, Absolutely everywhere. The following piece of news this week,
Hmm.
but I have to come to it really. I've got a post at digitaltrends.com. Basically, the sad news that Stan Lee has died. Now, if you don't know who he was, where have you been? Maybe you're one of the what's the name of the Me generation? But even they read comics, don't they? I don't know, James. Yeah,
I don't know.
we were
That's
talking.
beyond me.
Yeah, we were talking about this before we came on air actually, and yeah, producer of the Marvel Comics universe of films, of course. He's not only his name was on all of them. I actually saw the Black Panther movie the other night,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
like many things, he is the original creator of Marvel. He had a cameo in every single Marvel movie. If only for a few minutes, I
Yeah.
feel. And it was funny to see him in this one, quite possibly the last movie. would have made his cameo in. I don't know. Anyway, Stan Lee, of course, is the person who behind Marvel Comics. He's not actually this headline calls him icon and legendary creator, dead at 95. They've certainly pioneered an awful lot, and he's actually more. I mean, in particular for people who look beyond superheroes and stuff like that, you've got to remember that he invented people like the X-Men who were well, no, you can't call them normal people, but I mean, they were mutants and stuff. They weren't people from outer space with magical powers. There was a bit of logic to it. And Doctor Strange, of course, was one of his with Steve Ditko, and the Silver Surfer. There's an iconic one if there ever was one, although not one of the greatest popular ones. And this has moved into cinema, and so and these whole scenarios are almost templates in a lot of virtual worlds or games. Very profound importance there, and really since the mid '60s when the Marvel imprint. And the ballpen thing got its own aura, shall we say.
Mm.
Anyway, will be missed, and worthy of a mention, that I think. Right, moving on to uploadvr.com. Sketchfab, which is it's an online library of user-created 3D content that a lot of people use. People work in VR painting things like Tilt Brush and Oculus Quill, and they save stuff there. But also, people go there to get content that they can import into more humble virtual worlds like the one we're filming on here. They've announced that they've passed their 1 billion page views. Yeah, they're doing quite well, at least. Um, Page views, is something that's always disturbed me. Well, back in the early days of web, I knew somebody who had a shop, and they knew somebody who they thought was a designer who did the page for them, and it was literally quite literally a poster that you scrolled down the page and up and down the page. There wasn't an interactive link anywhere inside for you to actually go to order something or shop or anything like that. It was just like a poster on the web as a single page. But eventually somebody else did an overhaul of it. And what it made me think of this? Oh yes. The owner of the shop kept on telling me how many hits he'd had. He was obsessed with this thing that told him how many hits he had. But I was thinking, how's your business doing and stuff like that, and he did, he gave me when he wasn't raving about his hits, it didn't actually seem like he was getting too many customers, and I finally actually kind of got around to explaining to him that counting hits is rather like counting people that pass your shop and glance in the window but don't come in. You really got to use some better metrics to gauge the number of people that hang around at the site and what they do there. Um, but of course, this was in the early days of the web to suggest
Mm.
such things
Hmm.
was, I don't know to do all it. So anyway, but yeah, so Sketchfab now has 1 billion views of its 3D models. I suspect that's a genuine figure because if you pass through that site, you can't really resist clicking on things and look at the catalogue. It wouldn't be there.
Hmm.
Anyway, moving on. Wonderscope is the first AR app from Within. Now, Within have quite a lot of things, including programs that you can play with on Oculus Go and stuff. They're bringing their expertise to making experiential VR to the weird and wonderful world of augmented reality. And they come up with something called a Wonderscope. Um, it's quite nifty, but it is Chris Milk is the CEO of Within. Uh, Millions of kids use screens as much or more than adults, and they often do it alone. With AR, we see an opportunity to change that dynamic. And basically, a Wonderscope creates all sorts of activities in the real world that you do by holding up your iPad or whatever to the real world and seeing the activities superimposed on the real world and interacting with the real world. It did actually look rather good. Um, um, and for preteens, especially, I would think very compellingly attractive. Although, then again,
Hmm.
I'm an old man these days, aren't I, James? And as our conversation earlier, as our conversation
Oh,
earlier
I'm sorry.
attested, as our conversation earlier attested, I'm not really part of this sort of generation me, and I don't apparently understand generation me, and so I'm prone to opinionate or criticise things that just are nonsense because
Oh,
I'm not a generation me that would understand such nonsense. Well, yes, I better shut up. Croak,
um,
croak, croak, croak.
I mean that's essentially what I was arguing, but not in a derogatory way.
No, I
Generational differences
know.
are going to be everlasting in our human existence.
Yeah. Oh well, kids.
Yep.
If you're new to this game, go check out Wonderscope. Apparently, it's just your thing.
Right.
And
Right.
I must say, it did look quite nice. So
Hmm.
there you go.
Okay.
Right, virtual reality helps treat victims of sexual assault. I may have done this last week, as marked as a week ago. And oh, come on, Windows, you can load a page faster than this.
Hmm.
Um, if I was on the Mac that's sitting beside it, that would have you wouldn't have even seen. You couldn't blink and miss it. Okay. Here we are. Okay. Well, Joe. Let's click on that video and see what's happening. Oh, maybe it's not going to happen. That was probably a stupid idea. Yeah, it's not going to play. Oh, of course it's not going to play. I'm on air with it, aren't I?
Hmm.
Right. Airplane simulation to overcome fear of flying. Post-traumatic stress. Yeah, basically, it's looking at overcoming fears and all sorts of things. And oh, crumbs, look at this. Post-traumatic stress, fear of flying, and sexual abuse. Okay, you see that window? Yeah, play video, and I go there. It's not having any. What is this? What is this? Okay. Don't know why I opened it. Okay, moving on. Golfnews.com. I presume that's to do with the golf geographical place. Managing director at Kantar, Gagan Bala. Yes, I think it's definitely the geographical golf. Um, Article on the rising power of virtual influencers. And I've got a feeling I did this last week too. So
Hmm.
yeah, yeah. This is the oh, look at this. You see, virtual fashion becomes real fashion, um, and stuff like that. Although it does happen in the other direction too, of course. Right. Okay. Let me flip along a bit. Right. I think I'm amazed. Right. This is all stuff I have covered before. So not much in that feed this week, believe it or not, although it seems to be. I'm reaching the daily time limit. Do I want to continue sharing? Just better hurry up, hadn't I, instead of talking. Right, let's move into Metaworld, which is our other feed. High fidelity pick of the day. Right, RyanSchultz.com, who's supposed to be on holiday, keeps popping up every day with something that he can't resist. He was hanging around at VR Lands yesterday, and part of that was a pick of the day. One of the there was a choice about five domains at high fidelity that were in a shortlisted contest for, and you were able to vote for them. And the winner was one called Beyond, and I was started this show with a little thing about what Cyan Games were doing these days. Well, apparently Beyond. I had been there and I got to the entrance, but I thought I'd followed the wrong link until um, and there wasn't much to see. But I suspect now I've read the review that it's like missed. I simply hadn't figured out what to do. I was too impatient. Um, Apparently, this region in high fidelity, they call them domains, and this one may only be up for another 5 days. Apparently, it's the reviews say it's almost as compelling as Mist or the Abduction, as Cyan's latest effort, which I think has a VR component. Um, so I'm going to come back to that, but if RyanSchultz.com has that little review. It's not long, but it's very positive. Daniel Voyager.wordpress.com reports that Islands, spelled with a Z grid, has come online. Islands is a bit like an open similar grid, but it runs on a physics engine called Halcyon, as its predecessor InWorlds with a Z did. And it's been taking its time, but it's now come online. So there's about 300 odd users there registered there, and basically it's the new home from home for people who are residents of uh, yeah, the grid in Wales, yes, and no doubt their residents will increase as people realise it's available. Um, Right, not a huge amount there. Oh yes, another post from Daniel Voyager's blog too. New Ireland's website comes online. This was the day before and the grid opening, possibly this week. Where it did. Right. Um, okay. This one you definitely need. We plug it all the while, of course, at the moment. This is OSCC, the Open Sync Community Conference of 2018. Registrations are open, and there is a call out now, not for speakers so much as for artists and volunteer helpers and stuff. This blog is at in our Pay's blog, which is Modem World. You can actually see it spelt here the way it's meant to be: MODEMWORLD. And yeah, she's just basically taken all the press releases and everything else and done a nice little summary of piece about it and contain the links of where you can go to from there. And yeah, that post is at Modem World, as I just said, .me. And if you wanted to go straight to the conference site, because there's obviously a whole load of stuff there too, you want to go to conference.opensimulator, or one word, .org. And I actually know that from memory now, which is a remarkable achievement in its own right. Okay, humans want struggle, not perfection. What the Matrix Agent Smith teaches us about creating successful virtual worlds. This is actually a post at Hamlet Orr's blog, New World Notes, which was surprisingly interesting, actually. I saw the post and thought, what it was, and yeah, he's got a few quotes there that put that in perspective. And VR festival schedule release, well, we know about that. And there we go. 4 days ago. Okay, yesterday, Sine Wave, the virtual space, was celebrating their second main public anniversary. And one of the events they had there was an hour with renowned game designer Warren Spector. You can find that actually posted on YouTube now. Our friend here, Marcus Llewellyn, actually went in there and filmed that yesterday, and as the film of that is up on the web in places. And I think that's about it. Oh yes, also blog.sign.space. They had the creator spotlight about a week ago on one of their creators, Catherine Year. So you can find out about that too. So I'm gonna quickly close that one before my before my timer runs out. This is so fun. I'm on air trying to project various things to you, and I'm on a timer. Oh dear! Come on, timer. What's oh dear? I don't know what that one is. Oh, that's us. Yes. Yeah, I don't think I'm. Okay, futures. Where's the? It must be that one. Um, no. That's one of my incoming ones that I haven't done yet. Okay, I think that's it. James, you can safely get me out of that thing before the timer runs out. we no more insets, folks.
Yep.
Screenleaf's timer is about to collapse on us.
We can remedy that someday.
Yeah. Now, highlights really of the week. You know, on the actual virtual world front. Obviously, we got our Open Community Conference coming up, which we've been working on here. But yesterday was a day which was officially, although I'm not quite sure who's behind the official dome of declaring it. Um, Yesterday was VR Day.
Hmm.
Now, as I mentioned, Science Space had a big second anniversary celebration. Their anniversary was actually on Friday, but they kept their thing till yesterday. And of course, the end result of this was that yesterday being VR Day, they collided with every other virtual world platform that was sort of celebrating, all people that were celebrating VR Day, basically. And they probably have got more mileage celebrating VR Day than they would have done as they did celebrating their own birthday. But go figure. Um, VR Day, as far as I'm concerned, was high fidelity. It was greater than that. There were people in real life meeting up in headsets in San Francisco, and there were people in the high fidelity platform. There were also people in the AltSpace VR platform, and probably as a result of the AltSpace VR platform, I met somebody, although I met them in high fidelity, who'd been filming stuff for Microsoft all the morning. And let's just say that there must have been over 400 people coming in and out of the festival grounds at High Fidelity. Um, there were some streams of video going up as best they could, which I'll come to in a second. Um, but apparently Microsoft had been streaming it as well. Now it wasn't Microsoft stream was clearly just video of VR day activities, and I think it included Alt Space VR as well as High Fidelity. But they had something like 80,000 viewers. So even though these worlds themselves maybe had got limited traction, apparently the almighty Microsoft stream of all this stuff got an awful lot of people's attention, and hence the virtual worlds themselves got like a bit of attention. And certainly, I could see actual people coming into high fidelity, for example, later on in the event, who were clearly new to it and were doing all the WoW thing. I actually think they might be new to virtual worlds, let alone high fidelity. So, there were, how shall I say, there were newcomers and stuff coming into that too. High fidelity's domain, like region for the event, was colossal. It had the geographical spread, of like a festival site. Imagine, probably not as big as Glastonbury, but something like that. And there were sort of little valleys within this bigger valley, as it were. And one valley had the performance stage, another was a gaming area, another was another stage, another was the music area, and another was well, yeah, I can't remember. um, it was one of these very strange experiences where, after about 4 hours there, I sort of came back and I got online to my partner, and I was raving like I'd actually been out of the house to a real world festival, um, which is not something one really does when one's just taken a visit to something in the virtual world. So, curious, curious impact it had. The highlights musically at the High Fidelity site, which is where I was focused, was live performance by the musician. Well, he's getting on a bit now, actually. He's also a lecturer. Oh, I can't remember. Is it MIT or somewhere where he's a lecturer? But
Hmm.
Thomas Dolby, anyway. Anybody knows anything about pop music over the, his era was the 80s, but he's persevered. Or, no, that's the wrong word. He's endured. Endured
Endured.
is the word. Yes, endured is
Hmm.
the word I'm looking for.
Endured with
And,
perseverance, right?
yeah, and indeed, he actually played some of his more famous hits live in there. Um, he also has this habit of jumping up over his keyboards and dancing for about 30 seconds before he realizes he's got to go back to the keyboard and hit another loop or something. Um, but he had a big Pink Floyd sort of circular style projection system above him. um, which didn't quite work because trying to get YouTube shaped content into a circular screen in
Yeah.
world was not that easy. So it tended to be a rectangular square inside the circle. But some of the time you were looking at his, his interfaces, his keyboards, and his software in front of him, so you could see what he was doing on the big screen. Other times it switched to clips from videos of his songs and things because remember he was actually playing some pieces that are well known. They sounded a bit different from the original recordings because he's one of these artists that always does. It's never necessarily the same thing twice. But you knew the song, or the refrain, and yeah, it was, and the sound was actually by itself really quite compelling. One of my main criticisms, very sadly, of the event was that the music and his performance wasn't on a separate kind of stream in coming into the environment. It's all part of the audio complex, and rather like this is where the I am not the me generation comes in again. Um, Rather like people who take smartphones to concerts, why did you buy the ticket if you want to actually point your, stereo smart camera for the whole concert? And more important, when you post it up to YouTube, have you forgotten that we can all hear what you're saying and everybody around you is saying, drowning out the music? It really is not the thing. And sadly, the actual experience of being in high fidelity at this particular venue, remember that, there are a lot of people in there. And even if you were standing like I was at the very front of the stage, the volume of, Thomas Dolby and his instruments and everything else um, on one side was more, maybe 40% of what I was hearing. The other 60% was not only the people close to me in the front row, but also the hundreds of people that were, you know, actually it was more of a muted thing, because somebody was a few yards away, you couldn't hear what they were saying. You could just hear the fact there was this volume of talking going on. But it did really affect the ability to enjoy the music, even though, as I said, the quality of the music, if you could somehow transcend the mess it was covering up, was actually excellent. But there were also fashion sort of shows. There was a contest for best avatar. There was a contest for best domain, which is basically the name in high fidelity for different regions that are available. And I think the domains that are up for the contest are only up there till November 20th, so there's not long to go. But there's one domain there called Beyond, um, which quite literally, and I mentioned this earlier in Brian Schultz's had a point in his blog, it's quite literally like walking into a mist or a riven or abduction, a cyan game, and very complex and absolutely giant and everything else. And people say that they can't believe that something this total and complex had actually been built inside a virtual world platform as opposed to being a standalone thing. And sadly, I got there, but I didn't get to experience it because I didn't realize that there were very complex puzzle elements to it. I had to find my way. Basically, I should have stayed long enough to find my way out of the bit where you land. But of course, I had a festival to go to.
Hmm.
I just went through that door for a peek. I didn't really want to spend the whole day.
So Mel,
in,
I missed. Did you want to show some of your pictures? I,
Oh yes, yes indeed. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
that's all right.
We actually have a couple of pictures in real screen here now. I guess if you go to the one on the left first, this is a picture at the front row at the Thomas Dolby concert. You probably recognise his avatar because it's very similar to his real world self of Philip Rosedale on the far right there, and the chap next to him could be me, although it isn't. That person happens to be wearing pretty much the same skin that I chose for myself. I think, but the only difference is I've found a beard to wear and a baseball cap. Otherwise, I look the same until I can get the real thing up there. Quite a full-bodied lady in front of Philip there as well. Yeah, what is very nice about high fidelity, although weird at the same time, is you get people like the avatar I've chosen there, and Philip's, which is a dupe scan. The idea being very realistic, unlike your real world self. So your avatars is as close to your real world identity as possible. Yeah, other people that go for total fantasy stuff, like they've always done in Second Life and OpenSim, often because they've had to. You get avatars that look almost like cardboard cutouts, but it's not the primitive platform that's at fault there. It's just that the person behind the avatar wants to be like a cardboard superhero or something. So you get all sorts of you get complete fantasy and anomalies mixing with avatars who look like real world people, and it's just plus they'll all be whatever they look like, they may be wearing something that's totally out of this world anyway. um, um, a lady called Chaos. I forget her second name offhand. She was in the costume contest, and she was wearing a skirt. And if you're used to OpenSim or the Second Life and stuff, and you know how you have flexi trims, don't you, that make the skirt flows and jiggles, and then you have all sorts of extraordinary colours and lighting effects to make it very not of this world kind of thing. And Chaos was wearing a sort of thing made of. It was basically a skirt made of bubbles. Um, um, Somebody who was a bit modest would probably not want to wear this because the bubbles were all over the place, vertically as well as horizontally. But it was just a fascinating costume to see somebody wearing, and yet but underneath it was a fairly how should we say realistic avatar. So combining the best of both. Okay, now we have another picture. In a way, it's a bit boring actually up there on the right hand side, which is actually Thomas Dolby himself. That's his avatar behind his strange sort of keyboard setup there. To the bit to the upper left, you can see the corner of the circle, which is the light Pink Floyd type, projection screen. And a lot of the time you would be seeing on that screen the actual vertical view from above. His the keyboards he was playing and interspersed with video. And there were a couple of points where he had real world guests come onto stage with him because what he did is he had a live feed of the guests who came on stage, who came on as their real selves, but they were being filmed against a green screen. And so they were merging with him, so to speak. So, his avatar was playing the keyboards, but on the screen behind him was a real world video
Hmm.
participant. And the two, if he was against the black screen and they were, you could literally fool yourself. They were side by side. So,
Okay.
lots of experiments going on there. Very obviously you can't see it in a still picture, but the stage was amazingly well lit. It was the lights on it
Mm-hmm.
were constantly moving and moving relatively subtly too, which is always a good thing. You don't really want sort of trance overkill or something. So anyway, that was the highlight of the Futurelands festival in High Fidelity. But as I said, it extended way beyond High Fidelity. The VR day itself was in Old Space VR. I think was Old Space VR was probably the platform that had the most users. I don't know what the users were like yesterday themselves, but if you take all these worlds out there, for all its failings, VR chat, not VR chat, sorry, Altspace VR, does actually have a lot of people using it, even though they don't have arms and they don't look like anything you really want to mix with, actually. But cough, splutter. But they were pivotal to this too, and the reward folks that congregated for events in San Francisco. So that was the news for November 17th. That's why I was so quick on today's date, because I know it's the day after the 17th. It's all over.
Mm.
But as I say, High Fidelity's regions, or rather the domains as they call them, the contest regions, which may be going offline shortly are there till the 20th of November, which, if today's the 18th, that means you've really got tomorrow and possibly Tuesday to go and check out, especially that one beyond. And from the sound of it, you'll probably need the whole day to explore the beyond domain. Okay, so that's the stuff I was holding back to the end because it's particular to virtual worlds. Yep. I don't think there's much else to announce. A lot of the agenda for the Open Sim Community Conference is now finalised,
Yep,
but I'm
yep.
not going to let on. That will actually appear on the website probably sometime in the current week, and I'm sure we'll probably have a little show to go through what's going to be happening there before the event itself. So keep an eye on that side. Um, Other than that, I can't really think of much. If you want to keep, connected to the Open Simulator Hypergrid community, or indeed all the virtual world communities, I would recommend you join our server on Discord. Discord is a wonderful program to replace the increasingly erratic Skype, which is really going downhill at the speed of light since Microsoft's got their hands on it. Um, Discord is a replacement for that. Obviously, you'll have to find your friends and friend them on Discord. But it's got audio, video, text, everything else you expect from Skype. But it has a bonus, and that is people set up servers on it. And in the second half of the program, it's almost like an updated version of IRC. So we actually have a server there. We have a Metaworld server that actually is private for our staff, but we have the Hypergrid Explorers and Creators server there, and masses of channels in that server for different grids, different topics, network links, news, and just general chat. And always a good place to have running in the background. Check it out now and again if you want to see what people are talking about. And that particular server is designed to be hypergrid wide, so it's there's a channel for, say, Great Canadian Grid, another one for DigiWorlds, another one for Kitely, another one for Metropolis, and etc. etc. Any world that pops up, it gets given a channel. But you can really talk across all the worlds on the hypergrid.
Yep. And while you were
But
speaking,
also,
Matt, I put up the join
yeah.
link for the Hypergrid Explorers Discord channel.
Oh, wonderful. Yes, if
Yep.
they can see if they can't press on the link, can they? But if they
No,
can see,
no.
yes, indeed, indeed, if you can see and write down the numbers that you see there, that will actually take you to
Old
join the channel.
old-fashioned
Um,
typing involved.
Old-fashioned typing involved, yes. No interactive clicking on YouTube.
Yep.
For better or worse, I suspect for the better, actually, in that case. Um, right. Where was I? Oh yes. Now the other great thing about Discord is that if you're looking beyond, for example, say you were looking at high fidelity, which we were just talking about, there is a server for high fidelity. It's actually called the unofficial high fidelity server on Discord, but basically everybody official seems to be in it. So I think that's just a legacy title. There's also another one for Sciencebase, which is another of the more interesting, promising virtual worlds. Hamlet Orr, known from Second Life, really has one for New World Notes, which does include links and stories outside Second Life. Um, Open Simulator Community have one. Open Sim Fans is another one, but there's not much in it. Nora Malone has one of her own too, as do a lot of actual grids. Um, so it's a really it's a good place to sort of keep in touch with what's going on. More than the headline kind of stuff that we bring you on this program. Hopefully. So I think that's about it. I've overrun again. Or I'm just looking at the clock here and there.
Yep.
So much
Yep.
for our this is our 20-minute weekly bulletin, isn't it?
Well,
Um,
Twice
Or
that.
make that 30, or make that 40, or
Hmm.
make that 50. I think it's about 50, to be honest.
Your mileage may vary.
But yes, our mileage varies. Well, I know mine does, but it's not to me. I'm actually surprised at my age that it's increasing. I should be decreasing my
Ah,
mileage. I should. Yes, that's most interesting. I'm increasing my mileage. You're getting more out of me. You're draining me quicker.
very
I'll
good.
be, I'll be all shriveled up and drained before I know it. Never mind, never mind. I will try and make it to next week because I
Oh,
intend to be here, same time, same place next week. But meanwhile, it's goodbye from him.
and it's goodbye from him.
Ah, a farewell from us. No, not farewell. Sorry, I'm getting them mixed up now. A weekly departure from us.
Ah,
And we will be back, as I said, same time, same place next week. Bye for now.